Hi, everyone. Good night. Or, sorry, good morning. Good night. Go to bed. Today we're going to be moving our phone stands together some more. We have one in Fusion 360, so our model is complete. We're ready to rock and roll on it. But we have to remember that our laser cutter actually can't cut this in the way it is right now. It has to cut it out of a flat piece of wood. And that's what it looks like when the laser cutter does its thing. You can see where the laser gone around and just cut the outlines. And then also on this one, it didn't cut all the way through, so it's kind of still stuck in there. But you can see kind of the way it does what it does. So we need to create a model. We need to move our model around so that it's flat on the ground with both pieces side by side, ready to be cut. And we're going to stack them like top and bottom, like above and below, or sorry, left and right of each other, kind of flat like this on the surface. Okay. So to do that, we need to take our model. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a copy of our model. So we have a second copy inside the file. And then we're going to break that copy apart, and we're going to lay the pieces flat on the ground, kind of lined up with each other the best we can get them. Okay, to do that, we're going to be using this browser tree a bunch of days. So let's talk a little bit about what's here. You already know about document settings and changing the unit. Your named views, this is a really cool one. So in this folder are some of the named views that you can use, right? So one thing you can do is, so for especially for ours, our model is tipped over. So if I want to see, for example, I want to see the top of the leg, normally I would just click on the top of the cube and it would rotate me, but the stupid back is in the way. Like I can't see what's going on. I have to like manually go over and try and line it up just right. So one thing that you can do to get the view you want on a tipped model like ours is I can actually go to create a sketch and I can click on the thing that I want to view. It'll square me up to it perfectly. And then I can come over here to named views, right click on it and do a new named view. And whatever view you're looking at right there becomes the new view. If I double click on it, I can say leg. Enter. And now I'm just going to leave that sketch. The only thing I made the sketch was to get that view out of it. If I'm back at home and I'm like, you know what, I really want to see the top of that leg, I can come over here and click on leg and it rotates me right to that view. So that's what the named views are. It's for helping you kind of navigate. Origin. You can turn the origin on or off, so you can see when you turn it on, you can see where the X, Y, and Z axes meet and where the three main planes are. So that's kind of nice to be able to do. Sketches, these are all the sketches you've used. So this part's actually crazy cool. Check this out. So I used 6 sketches to make this model. This 10th sketch was the one I just used to make that named view. So I'm just going to delete it real quick. But as I go through, you can click on them, it actually shows you. So this is the outline square of the first thing I did, the rectangle for the back. And this is the one for the leg. And then this is the one to cut out the chunk of the leg and the back and here. And if I right click on any of these sketches, I can come down here and do an edit sketch. And I can just change stuff. So I can say, hey, instead of that, I'm going to say I wanted that to be 3.5. And it's going to change that distance. And now when I say finish sketch, watch what happens. It ripples through the rest of the steps. So it goes, if it was right here, it runs through all these steps and redoes them all with this new measurement in place. So it's like it goes back and redoes all the work for you, assuming you made that one change at the beginning. So I don't want that, so I'm going to actually take that off. So I'm going to Control Z, and Control Z. And that does everything I did. I did 3 steps, so I controlled Z 3 times. And I got rid of all of that. So that's kind of cool that you can go back and edit sketches whenever you want. Okay. And the next one is the construction one. So this is that construction plane we made. So remember we made that tipped over plane to start with. It's that blue one right there. That's what we made our back on. And so that's that construction plane right there. You can go reuse it if you want sometime in the future because it's just sitting right there. And then our 2 components, of course, leg and back. And so those are awesome and fun to work with. What we're going to do now is, though, we need to create a new copy of these 2. We're going to take those 2 copies, break them apart, flatten them both out, and line them up. And then we can use that lineup of components to export out to another program called Inkscape, and Inkscape is where we're going to draw designs on our stands. So yeah, let's get to it. First things first, let's create a place to put our copies. So we're going to create a new component, and we're going to name that component. We're going to double click on the current name. We're going to name it laser cutter. That way we know what's inside there. And then we're going to copy this leg and the back, and we're going to drop in the laser cutter. Now notice that my model is turned like almost a clear glass looking component, and what that means is it's not an active component. So right now my laser cutter component is the active component, which means I can't actually make any changes to this other than move it around from place to place, but I can't actually do any changes to it unless it's the active component. That keeps you from accidentally messing up something from somewhere else. All right, so what I'm going to do is right click on this, and I'm going to click on copy right there. And then I'm going to click on the laser cutter component I just made. I'm going to right click on it and then do paste and not paste new. I'll explain what the difference is between paste and paste new in a second. So I'm going to paste that one. And notice that it showed that our new object is right on top of our old one. So it looks like it didn't even make a new one. But watch what happens if I grab this arrow and drag it out to the side. The new copy is right there. The old one is still there. So I'm going to do that and click OK. It just made a copy of it. And because this is the active component, it's dark gray now to let you know that you can edit this one. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the back. I'm going to do copy right there. And I'm going to right click on my laser cutter component. And I'm going to do a paste, not a paste new, and drag it out. So what this does, I'll click OK. So now I've got my new copy right here, or my copy of my phone stand here and the regular one right here. What paste instead of paste new does is when it makes this copy, this one is still connected to that one. So later on when I'm doing stuff, I'll hide this one, and if I come back here and I change something about the leg, right? So I change, let's say, the tab width or something like that, it automatically goes in and changes this one as well. So these two things are locked together. Whatever changes you make here are changes that they'll be mirrored here instantly. So that's kind of cool. If we make a change, we'll have them in both places. And if you do a paste new, what it does is it breaks it. So at that point, it creates an object, but going forward, any changes in that one doesn't affect this one because it's a new object and not the same one, if that makes any sense at all. All right. So now that we have our laser cutter one, we're going to hide the first two because we don't need them right now. And I'm just going to separate these real quick and show you something interesting. When you're moving something around just with this like free floating, just grab it and move it tool, you can move it up, down, left, and right in all these weird ways. The one thing that kind of grounds you into where you are is that shadow. Notice when the leg is the lowest part, the shadow of the back is even with the shadow of the leg. And as soon as they get even, boom, and then now the back is the lower part, so it lowers the shadows down below the leg. So you can use it to kind of tell how high they are above and below each other, because it can get really confusing where they are. Notice how off to the side they are now. All right, but we don't care about any of that actually. So what we're going to do, I'm going to undo that until I get them back together again, because I do want them. I'm going to go re-hide my back. I do want them to start out in the same like left-right lined up. So I'm going to just take this first one, and I'm going to use make the laser cutter the active component. That'll turn it dark gray. I'm going to use this one. Actually, I'm not going to click on it first. I'm going to do what's called, I'm going to use the move tool. So the move tool lets you move things left, right, and rotate them. We're going to do the rotation one to do it flat. So I'm going to use the move tool. So either I'm going to click on this under the modify menu, or I'm going to use the letter M. Click on the object I want to use, and notice it says move object component, and yep, I'm going to move the entire component. And now you need to figure out how to rotate it. So these little circles are rotation handles. You can see, oh, that was not the right way. So I'm going to put that back to 0. I'm just going to try another one. You can see there's another one right here, and I'm like, oh, no, that's totally wrong as well. And now I'm going to do this one, be like, oh, yep, there it is. It's flattening out now. And I'm going to figure out what flat is I'm just going to look at it from the right here and notice that now, okay, there it's flat. And that makes sense because we're 90 degrees would be like 90 degrees from where we were, except we were already tipped 20 degrees. So being 70 means we're short 20 degrees, which kind of makes sense. And then I'm just going to click OK now that I have it tipped flat. Next thing I'm going to do is I want to align this face right here with this face. So instead of trying to rotate this one and bring it up and do it, it's a really quick thing to do. If you just go here to modify, come down here to align tool, I can say, okay, what are we going to align? We're going to align components, yep, and we're going to align from this one, and we're going to align to this face, and notice how it snapped it up. Now they're even. They're also inside of each other, which is super bizarre, but that's okay. We'll move them in a second. We're going to click OK. So you can see how the leg is existing inside the body. That's no good, so let's move it. So I'm going to use M for move. I'm going to click on, doesn't matter which one, click on one of them. And the only thing I don't want to do at this point is I don't want to move it up or down, and I don't want to move it left or right. I want to grab this one and move it forward or back. It doesn't matter which way you move it, as long as they're not overlapping each other, you're fine. And now right there, that's a little bit closer than I want it to be because my laser needs some space to work with. But this is a little bit further than I want it to be. So I'm going to just choose something in between 13 and 14 and say, I don't know, 13.5. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to click OK, and that's going to move it right there. And now I'm almost done. So now I've got a model that's laid out like you've seen before. I might rotate it around so that it looks like this. And now what I need to do is create an outline. This is still a three-dimensional object, so it still has depth. But for my laser, all my laser cares about is the line that goes around them. So we're going to create that line real quick. And we're going to do that by creating a new sketch. So I'm going to create a sketch here. And when this pops up, some components have moved. Capture the current position or continue in previous position. If you push continue here, it's going to take that leg you just moved and for some reason move it back to its old location. I'm sure there's a reason for that would be helpful, but I just moved it for a reason. So I've always used the capture position. I haven't found a use for undo what I just did and move my leg back. So we're going to do that. And now we're going to try and do an intersection. We're going to, wherever our plane meets our surface, we're going to have it draw a line. So all these lines it's going to trace out for us. To do that, we're going to go to create. We're going to come down here to project and intersect. We're going to use intersect and not project this time. I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to click on that one, and I'm going to click OK. And it only drew one of them. That's very interesting. So let's do it one more time. So you can see I only got the outlines of this one thing. Let's try it one more time. And we're going to do an intersect. We're going to do here. And we're going to click OK. And now I got the other one. So for some reason it made me do it twice when it maybe shouldn't have. But we're all okay with that. So now I've got this sketch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the laser cutter components. Oh, that's where my sketch is, never mind. So now my sketch for this component is inside here, right? So I'm going to hide leg and back, and these were the other components of them. And notice now I just have a drawing with no depth. This is the drawing I need and I want. So I'm going to square it up to myself. I'm going to come down here and find the sketch for it, and this is sketch 1. I'm going to make sure it's the right sketch. It turns blue like this, right? But it's also, I can hide it and view it to make sure it's the right one. Okay, I'm going to rename this laser cutter sketch. Actually lines, because it's not really a sketch. Sketches feel dashy to me, so I'm going to do it as lines. It doesn't really matter what you call it, as long as you understand what it is. And now I'm going to do this cool thing. I'm going to export. I'm going to save this as a DXF file, which is a file that just shows the lines we just created. So I'm going to click on Save as DXF. And I'm going to come down here to, I'm going to call it Phone Stand DXF. I'm going to save it somewhere convenient. I would recommend that you put it in on your desktop. The Inkscape program actually is a weird way of navigating. It's kind of hard to find things sometimes. So putting on your desktop, there is a shortcut for desktop in Inkscape. So I would put it right there. And we won't need this file. As soon as we get into Inkscape, we can get rid of it. We don't need it. I'm going to click Save to my desktop. And now I'm all good. Yay! So Fusion is done. We are ready to open this file in Inkscape and edit it from there. Oh, no, we're not. We need one more thing. Oof, I almost forgot. When we import into Inkscape, it does not do a good job about bringing in at the right size. It'll bring it in way too big, and we need to scale it back down to normal. To do that, though, we need to know a number, and that number is how far it is from the very top line to the very bottom line of our model. So to do that, I'm going to click up here on the ruler and click Measure. I'm going to click the top line and one of these bottom lines down here, and it's going to tell me that that distance is 20.616. I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to save that number for later. 616. And I want all the decimal places. I wrote that down. I'm going to set that aside for our next unit. We're going to need that one in Inkscape to be able to resize it to the correct size. All right, so I'm going to hit close here. And now we're all done for the day. That's it. That's all you had to get done, was just getting the drawing exported.